Hi guys, good evening. Let's start. All right. So, good evening to everybody. Let's start class. So, today's agenda is for us to look at the internal environment. I believe many of you have done your homework and shared your work with me on the 6-page strategic audit for global marketing decisions, the case study. Well done if you have done that already. Those of you who haven't, please do it, because it is a must that you practice with the previous case study, which is the Lewi's case study, right? I want to just take you through, because I promised you that I will share with you some analysis and for you to undertake your own work. I shared this analysis on the WhatsApp group. So this is the tutor analysis that we discussed when the case study was out, the previous session, for the previous session on Levi's. And here's some analysis that I gave the students. Of course, you won't find everything here. I've only included the tools I've given you for homework in the past 2 to 3 weeks. Okay. So in the Levi's case study, you were a self-employed marketing consultant to Levi, the headquarters. Okay. And it's a 100-year-old company, is a legacy brand. And in terms of theory from the syllabus, you would find in red some of the highlighted areas are the focus for the questions in task 1 and 2 and 3. So I'm not going to talk through that because you're still undertaking theory. Now, in terms of some of the tools that you will use in the 6-page strategic audit, I told you at the end of each assignment, you'll find the 6-page strategic audit as an appendix. So here are some tools that you can use. And there is an exhaustive list. We've done some of these tools already. We've looked at the SWOT, PESTEL, and scenario planning. In fact, these areas we've looked at. Today, we are going to try and cover these areas, right? And then the segmentation piece, I've uploaded a video for you to watch that, including this is covered in the segmentation. And today we'll try and look through some of these areas, including we'll look at the organization structure today, right? We'll look at the GE matrix today. Right? And then let's try, if we have time, to look at the competitor analysis today. So as you can see, in the ones in yellow, we have covered in the previous lectures that you need to watch and to try and practice with the Levi's case study. The Levi's case study is the previous session's case study. And there is an assignment that I've shared in the group as well. If you have not got those, please WhatsApp me or check the Google Classroom. You'll find those. Our assignment and case study will be released to us in April. We don't know the company, the global organization that has been selected thus far. We don't know. It's a surprise to us. So in April, we will know what the company is and what the tasks are. And then as soon as we get it, by then we would have covered all the theories. And then we start analyzing the case study. That's how it works. Global marketing decisions. So in terms of these areas in yellow, we've done already in terms of theory. And I've shared with you 5 World Prize winning assignments in the past 5 years. 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024, and 2025. So I've shared the 5 World Prize winning assignments that we've produced here at CCBM, and the students before you have left a legacy behind. So I've shared those assignments with you. Also, you can find them on Google Classroom. So always benchmark your work. Remember, you're a marketing consultant to a large organization. So you have to think like a consultant, and we will help you. Right? So this is the exhaustive SWOT analysis that I gave the students. So I did an exhaustive SWOT analysis in terms of strengths and all case material pertaining to that area, weaknesses and all case material. Remember, you have to stay within the case study in order to do your assignment. So your 6-page strategic audit, you have to stay within the case study and the links within the case study. Okay. So you have to have an exhaustive list of strengths, weaknesses, opportunities. There are plenty, as you can see. So I've analyzed all these and given the students, as well as there are questions around risks and threats. So by now, you know that strengths and weaknesses are internal and opportunities and threats are external. And many of you have done your homework. So now you can compare your homework with what I've done here to see what is the examiner's expectation, what would entail a World Prize versus what you have done. So your challenge is to also fit this into one page. Remember, the first page should be the SWOT analysis. I hope it is clear. I hope it is clear. Then you can generate what we call key issues, right? Looking at the SWOT, a detailed SWOT, what are the key issues this company must address? What are the key issues this company must address? So there is a profitability versus sustainability trade-off. Do we go behind more profits, or do we be more sustainable, which means we have to invest now for the long term? So that's a big trade-off. If you read the case study, it's very clear. You have to make a choice. Then how do you balance craftsmanship versus technology? So the traditional artisans who are crafting handmade jeans versus modern technology that can produce efficiently and ensure that your production is done very fast so that you can go out to the globe and cater to the global demand. So it's a dichotomy. It's either or. So it's something that you need to consult your organization on. Do you expand the core denim business, or do you diversify into fast fashion and athleisure? So your indirect competitors like the brands such as Nike, Lululemon, New Balance, Zara, Mango, you name it. So those are the guys who have mastered the fast fashion space as well as the athleisure space, which is a huge trend today, especially in the West, especially in the US market. And the US market is a huge market that spends a lot of money on clothing. So what do? Do you stay within denim, which is your core business, or do you broad base because there's competitors taking away business from you? Or do you stay present in both areas with a multi-branded approach? Do you retain the classic brand heritage, or do you become extremely relevant to Gen Z? Sometimes in life, you have to make a call. You can't do two things. Those are the key issue trade-offs. Because in trying to be everything to everyone, you will end up becoming irrelevant and nothing to no one. Remember, at the heart of marketing is positioning. Sthanagata kirima, positioning. Watch the video that we released last week. Sthanagata kirima, positioning. At the heart of marketing is the concept of brand positioning. How do you position the brand in the mind of the customer? You cannot be everything to everyone. You cannot be everything to everyone. You need to segment the market and you need to make a choice. And sometimes you end up making the wrong choice. So that is where your 6-page strategic audit will do some detailed analysis. And we need to make decisions. That's the subject, right? Global marketing decisions. So you have to make a choice. And even as you make a choice, you have to justify the choice. Just like you would take a boyfriend home on the first day or a girlfriend home and justify how good or bad that boyfriend or girlfriend is to your parents. No, he is a religious fellow. He is a sporty. He is funny. She is funny. Isn't that right? Very kind. So you would justify. That's justification. So you have to take a position and justify. Right? And when we justify our recommendation, we have to give strategic recommendations. So do we standardize globally in terms of style, or do we adapt to local tastes? That's another choice that we need to make in the Levi's jeans market. You are the market leader, by the way. So the market leader's job is daunting because the market leader can drop if you make the wrong choices. At the moment, it appears that Levi's is still sticking to globally their brick and mortar stores. So they have Levi's stores, and then selectively they sell Levi's in certain other department stores. But they have really not gone into a huge fast fashion business, just like the Zara's of this world. And then you have other online retailers that are also selling multiple brands, including Levi's. That's taking away business from you. And they're getting popular today with apps and websites and other technologies. And then you have to also make a choice whether you want to be conservative, to have a neutral corporate image, conscious, cautious, versus do you embrace brand activism and advocacy? And this is a brand that has taken a stance there. They support a lot of LGBTQ rights. They also sort of do a lot of other things to ensure that they are very loud in their activism towards social causes, right? Be it sustainability, be it the planet, be it society, be it their staff. So do you become a loud brand in terms of activism and thereby become one of the most loved ethical brands in the world, responsible brands in the world? Or do you be conservative and maintain a neutral corporate image? Both have advantages and disadvantages. All these trade-offs have advantages and disadvantages, right? So what do? Do you play at each of the extremes? Then that comes at a trade-off of the other. Do you go with a premium brand positioning? Because there are so many Japanese brands, US other brands that are selling at a very high price, high price than Levi's. And they're taking away, they're skimming the market. They're taking away a lot of business from you because you are at the moment reaching the middle market or what we call the mass affluent. You're not a luxury brand. You're not a luxury brand, right? But then there are luxury jeans brands that have come out. So you have to take a call. Are we going to have multi-branded? Are we going to multi-segment? If so, where are we going to sell? We can't put everything in one store and sell. So these are the decisions you have to make. Global marketing decisions. Then, are you going to also expand globally with brick and mortar stores and build resources, be resource intense, and take over the global supply chain control in terms of raw materials? Or are you going to be lean and agile and outsource your non-value adding activities, just like that of a brand like Nike? And you just stick to a few things of design and marketing and brand management and outsource everything else. So these are some of the trade-offs that you need to take strategically, and you need to have an opinion, right? So in terms of the critical success factors, what are the factors that are critical to succeed in this business? Strong brand equity and global recognition, leadership in sustainable and ethical production. Now, even as I go through this, some of you who have not done your homework, it might be like Chinese to you, okay? Mandarin, okay? This is why I told you have to do your homework. And many of you have done it, but some of you who are lazy, you have not done it. So it might sound like a foreign language to you, okay? Swaziland, native language. What is this? Do we talking about athleisure and denim market and all that, right? This is why you have to make sure you follow the course properly, because otherwise you will not know what's going on. Okay, right. So continuous innovation in denim and athleisure with innovation. Innovation is a must. They're doing a lot with regards to different types of manufacturing process innovation. Advanced digital transformation and direct to customer experience is another critical success factor to remain the market leader in the industry. Supply chain resilience and transparency. Improved profitability and cost efficiency. So if you want to remain the market leader, I think they have about 65 to 70% market share. If you want to remain there, you need to excel. You need to be the best in the industry in all these critical success factors, factors that are critical to succeed in the industry. Global expansion with local adaptation, because there are different consumer tastes in different markets. Staying relevant to Gen Z and millennials. Strategic sustainability and reputation management. So I've highlighted some of these things as well as a strategic response there. Then the pestle factors. So I wanted you to do a pestle analysis. So I've given you some thoughts there on scenario planning, some scenarios and pestle analysis. Now the results are going to come out. The students will get their results on the second week of February, which is about 2 weeks from now. You will have or 2.5 weeks from now, you will have the results out. After which I'm going to share all the A grades with you. Hopefully there might be a prize winner. We don't know. And then the Porter's 5 forces here that we did last week as well. I promised to show it to you. So I've done the 5 factors here. The problem here is when the case study comes, you cannot wait till I give you this information. You need to start. Why? Because if you don't start doing your work and I give you this, you don't think outside of this. So the danger in me giving your work, me giving you my thoughts, and you not doing it before that, is the fact that you won't think outside this after that. So please follow the lectures properly and make sure you do your homework, and we give you ample time before we bring in the tutor's opinion. And then you can pick and choose what you want to borrow, but don't cut and paste. You will fail. You will fail if you cut and paste, because the software is very, very strong. Software is very, very strong, and you will pay the price. And then we have the segmentation canvas. Please watch the video I uploaded last week. So you need to have some level of segmentation in your 6-page strategic audit. There are what we call value seekers, mainly the young, low mid income. Then you have ethical fashion buyers, urban millennials, older Gen Z, mid high income, and you have their values, their beliefs, their demographics, their purchase behaviors, possibly some of the channels they would use, and the media and communication that you can target them with. So with the limited case material, we will put this together. And then you have athleisure enthusiasts. Those are a growing segment, and you are not very, very strong. You have bought a brand, but that brand is not well known there. Yoga is the brand. So athleisure is a huge growth segment. You need to play it hard. Premium heritage collectors. There are collectors that collect jeans. Then jeans were first introduced for outdoor workwear, rugged, for people like plumbers, people who worked in the mines. That's how jeans started. So that segment still continues. People who do blue collar work still wear a lot of jeans because they don't want to get wounded and damaged. So especially in the West, and of course in cold climates, you wear jeans so that you don't feel the cold. Classic heritage loyalists, and you have the smart casual professionals. So this is some thoughts that I've shared with you, and I will do this even as the case study comes so that it will be very easy for you, which is why our students end up winning world prizes, because we support you quite a bit. And I can tell you, you don't get this kind of support from anyone else. Okay. So all you need to do then is compare your work you've done and then tweak it if you have missed anything. Any questions? Anything to clarify? Anything to clarify? Can you please type if you have anything to clarify? Anything to clarify? Right? So shall we move forward this week? Obviously, I'm going to give you some homework at the end. So let me open this very quickly. Right. So today we are going to continue our discussion and look at chapter 2, the internal environment. Let's look at the internal environment and some theory. We start our discussion with the marketing structure. So typically in a marketing structure, you would see this kind of structure. You would see the CMO or the marketing director right on top. And then within the structure, you would have sales, brand management, product management. In some cases, customer experience management, which means the whole call center piece. If you are an operations-led organization, that might end up in operations. And then you have increasingly the data analytics, the research and analytics arm that comes within the CMO, right? And here's what they do typically. So one question that we need to look at when we see the case study is, are all these areas represented within the marketing department? If so, you have to make recommendations and say these areas must be included because you are talking to the board of directors. You can't be a marketing consultant and create a strategy and not have a structure to deliver the strategy. I hope it is clear. Right? So you'll create a strategy, but then you need to change the structure to deliver the strategy. You can't fit a strategy into an existing structure. That's not how it works. You can, but then you're shoving it and then it may not work properly. You need to first determine your strategy and then change the structure to deliver the strategy. And then when we look at organizations, guys, I mean, you have the traditional tall hierarchical organizations with multiple layers like this. You see a lot of bureaucracy, layers, approvals. I mean, I'm struggling with dialogue at the moment. Real case study. Okay. Real case study. I know the CEO very well as well, but I've been struggling with them for past. Their services got so bad now, so bad, right? Their relationship managers don't answer because that person has another boss, that person has another boss. You know, there are about 5-6 bosses, so many loyalty programs, and no one knows what to do. And everyone's at meetings. Everyone's at meetings. So, very, very rigid, bureaucratic, organization that is hierarchical, so many layers. Today, the world has moved into this flatter, decentralized, devolved, empowered, lean, agile organizations. So you outsource most of the non-value adding activities so that you can concentrate on the most important activities that you excel in, that you're good as an organization. So you have flatter, agile, speed to market is of the essence in these kind of structures. So we need to look through the organization and see sometimes the problem is not in the strategy. Sometimes the problem is the pace in which we operate, which is determined in the structure. And every 2-3 years, if you really don't take a very hard look at your structure in the organization and be bold and make changes, you are going to suffer. You will see a loss of market share and so many customers who are unhappy. And change is imminent. Change is something that you must thrive on. So there are so many types of structures: functional, product, territory or geographic, matrix and network structures. So when we look at a functional organization structure, now typically when you start a business, let's say a very small business like a Mudalali, right? If you're a shop, corner shop Mudalali, that Mudalali does everything, right? He in the night packs his sugar, his rice, he makes the packs, right? Then in the morning when he wakes up, he has to open the store. Then he has to clean the place. Then he has to, right, wait for customers to come and sell the goods, take the money. And then he has to, right, again shut down in the evening. So he does everything, the Mudalal. Or maybe he'll have a few helpers. But you don't have a typical structure in that. They are your entrepreneurial, your small, right, your micro. So you don't need a structure. Every decision goes through you. But now what happens? Now the Mudalali starts to expand into 10 shops. Now the Mudalali can't be present in all 10 shops. Now the Mudalali needs to have functional heads. He needs to have, right, someone to do accounts. So you now move into a little bit of SME. You have gone from extreme micro to you've grown. Now you can't take every single decision. Someone going to the bathroom also, they need to tell you, hey, I'm going to the bathroom. Some companies still operate like that. Your boss needs to know even if you go out, right? Or to the bathroom, or hey, I am going to this floor. Can I have permission to go to this floor in the building? So some companies still operate like that. But knowledge workers don't work like that, right? So today, you then move on to a functional organization structure where you have a HR head, a sales head, a manufacturing head, a IT head, and accounting head, the 5 main functions. And now what happens? See, now let's say if you're a manufacturing organization and if you're organized by functions, that's a functional organization structure. What really happens here is you sometimes grow so much, especially if you're a manufacturing organization, this production department or operations grow exponentially because that's where you need labor. So you end up having 150 people here, 10 people here, 2 people here, 6 people here, and 5 people here. Now what happens? Now this guy is starting to lose control. Why? This guy has most amount of people, so he has built a separate kingdom inside the kingdom. The production guy has so many people reporting to him. He has built a kingdom inside a kingdom. You need to break this. If you don't break this structure, then this company will collapse. This guy will lose control. This guy will start his own business and take all of these guys and go, and none of these guys will exist. Right? So what happens then is you quickly move into what we call a product or a divisional structure, where you have decentralized functions and you organize yourself by SBUs. So you, within the business, you create separate businesses and you say, okay, we are a bank. That's our main profit and loss account. But inside that, we have sub profit and loss businesses or SBUs. So we call this corporate banking, wholesale banking, P&L, retail banking, P&L, leasing, P&L, treasury, P&L, and you can continue to have so many sub businesses inside this big business. And then you put a head there, business head, SBU1, and you can continue to expand SBU. And then there's focus that comes in to grow the business. And what you do there is, whilst these business heads run these smaller businesses, right? Whilst this business head runs these smaller businesses inside the business, you have centralized functions like HR supporting all these businesses. So you have decentralized functions within these sub businesses. Usually marketing is there. Why? Because marketing has a budget. And then you have finance that can support all the businesses. IT that can support all the businesses. HR that can support all the businesses. So you have centralized functions and decentralized functions within the business. I hope it is clear. Then you outgrow that also. You outgrow that. Now you have gone global. You have started to export into a few markets. You're in a few continents. Therefore, you move into what we call a territory, geographic, or a market structure. And there you organize yourself by market. So you'll have a head for Africa and Southeast Asia. You'll have a head for the Americas, South and North. you'll have a European head, right? You'll have a head for Australia and New Zealand. Or you can mix it up with Asia as well and call it Australasia, right? Or you can have a separate one for Africa. You can have a separate market head for the Middle East, right? So under these market heads, you then have either a functional structure or a product structure. But these guys are experts that are growing the business in these different markets, right? And then in a truly global organization, you would operate what we call a matrix organizational structure. Now, what is a matrix? A matrix is something like this. You have horizontal reporting lines and you have vertical reporting lines. So your vertical reporting lines deals with functional authority, whereas your horizontal reporting lines are your project authorities. So let's say you are the production manager. Let's say you are a production manager, right? So your immediate boss, direct reporting line is the head of production or the director production. But because you have experience and certain knowledge, you get dragged into Project Alpha. And you have dotted line reporting to this project head. Dotted line reporting to this project head. But you have main line reporting to the formal boss in your own department. Then you sometimes project beta head also wants you. So then you'll start reporting on this project to him. Then project delta will also want you. Now you have a dotted line reporting to this boss here. So globally, you get dragged into so many project teams, right? So many project teams, whilst you also have a direct reporting line for administrative purposes. So this is how most banks, global organizations today operate, especially in the IT space, where you have a lot of knowledge workers. They run what we call a matrix organizational structure, right? So here's an example for you of a small analysis of how you would analyze the structure in the strategic audit. All right. So let's move forward. Now we come into the BCG matrix. So the BCG matrix, guys, the Boston Consultancy Group matrix, okay, is a theory. BCG is one of the leading consultancy companies in the world. Now, they have said that there are two broad decisions that you need to make with regards to your product portfolio, right? So let's take an example. Let's say you are Unilever. And I think all of you are familiar with the Unilever product portfolio, right? Now, what they say is you need to look at, for each of your products that you have, what is the market growth rate? What is the market growth rate? Year-on-year market growth rate. Year-on-year. So 2024 to 2025, what did the market grow at? That is your YOY market growth rate. Is the market growing or is it contracting? Is it getting smaller or is it getting bigger? Now, this is a very difficult thing to analyze. You need a lot of data, and that's where companies like AC Nielsen, LMRB in Sri Lanka, and BMRB in Britain, the British Market Research Bureau, TNS, these are research companies who specialize in what we call retail audits. And they will size markets for you. So if you are in a particular market, let's say you are in the beverage market selling soft drinks, right? Year on year, they have methods to do research and to size the market. How many bottles, how many um, uh, number of bottles that were sold, or in terms of value or quantity, they will size the market, right? So those of you who are working in those organizations, you would know, especially in distribution, retail kind of operations, you would size the market. So Nestle is in that market, Unilever is in that market, pharmaceutical market. It's a difficult job. You can't do it because you don't have the competitors' data. But if you get a third party, that third party can do certain statistical valid research, especially at a sample of retailers, and can establish with a certain amount of error, 5% plus or minus, that the market is this, quantity it is this, value it is this. That's why they get paid, because they do it scientifically. So they will say soft drink market is 10 billion a year. I'm just giving you an example. In 2023. And in 2024, it went up to 11 billion. So they will size it. Now, if so, you know your sales, right? If it's 10 billion and if you have done 1 billion sales, you know you have 10% of the market share. That's the second point, relative market share. Relative market share. What is your market share? Relative to the market growth. So that's how you look at it. You have to always look at the market growth rate and the relative market share, right? Sometimes you have to be careful here. Your market share would have grown. That's the pie chart. Your market share would have grown, but your market growth rate has grown so much more than your market share. Actually, then you have lost. Someone else has gained. So you have to be careful how you read this. And that's why it's a data-driven exercise, right? But here in the case study, you don't need to make it data-driven because we don't have all the data. However, conceptually, the case will throw out some indications of whether your products are stars, cash cows, question marks, or dogs, right? So you need to conceptually understand it and then apply. And I will help you. So if you take Unilever, for example, perhaps when you look at the data, maybe, we don't know, right? We are guessing. Certain brands may have high market growth rate with high market share. Those are the stars. So let's put a brand like Sunsilk. I don't know whether this is real or not. I'm just putting it, okay? Let's assume. Signal, right? High market growth rate, high market share. Then let's take cash cows like Lifebuoy. These are Unilever brands. Low market growth rate, but high market share. Then let's take a brand like Purit. That is their water brand. Okay, I'm assuming it is here. Then let's take a brand like Rexona. Might be a question mark. Rexona. High market growth rate, but low market share. Dove might be somewhere here. I don't know. I'm just guessing. We don't have data. Okay. So now they have about 80 brands in their portfolio. If you keep plotting their brands like that, based on data, right? There are so many brands. No, soup cubes, Rin, okay? So many brands. Fair and Lovely, now called something else. Okay, I don't know what it's called. Okay, but they changed Fair and Lovely to Glow and Lovely or something like that, right? So if you plot all their brands here, where would you want all their brands to be? Can you please type? I'm asking you a question. I want all of you to type. Where would you want all their brands to be? Ideally in the BCG. Can you please type? Please type. Where would you want all their brands to be? Can you please type? I'll give you 30 seconds. Right? Where would you want all their brands to be? Right. So there are some thoughts here. Good. Good. Okay. So what BCG says is, okay, that you need to have a good combination of stars and cash cows. I'll tell you why. Here's why. They say that stars have high market share, high market growth rate. Therefore, the cash generated is high, but you also need to keep advertising this brand and invest in the brand, pump marketing dollars into the brand. That's why you see prime time advertisements, 30-second advertisements, which are costing millions. And if the moment you drop the ads, the share goes down. So you need to keep investing in these brands, stars. And therefore, the profitability is there, but it is low profitability. Then the most unprofitable ones are the products that are still in the R&D phase. Cash generated is nothing. Cash used is quite a bit. Net effect is very unprofitable. Then you have question marks. Cash generated is low, but cash used is very, very high. You need to withdraw because it's loss making. Dogs, you need to divest, sell it off really fast because the cash generated versus the cash used has a zero effect. The most profitable are the cash cows. That's why they're called cash cows. You can milk them. The cash generated is very high and the cash used is very low. And you have to harvest this or milk it. So the profitability is greater in a cash cow. Therefore, according to BCG, you need to have a good combination of these. But the thing is, stars have high market growth, but you can't always have high market growth. At some point, it will start saturating. Every year, you can't have high market growth. You can have high market share, but every year, you can't have high market growth because the world has only a limited amount of people. So if you grow every year, at some point, it needs to start, right, saturating. So at some point, every brand will saturate and decline and move from here to here. But your market share will still remain high. So brands that are here will eventually move down here. Be very profitable, but low market growth. So you have to harvest them. So the challenge here is, BCG says that cash cows are today's breadwinners. Today's breadwinners. Why? The money that you earn from here, you are funding all these losses you're funding by harvesting the brands that are here. right? Tomorrow's breadwinners are these. Why? Because at some point, these guys are going to come here and you can milk them. So if you have a combination of today's breadwinners and tomorrow's breadwinners in your product portfolio, then you are guaranteed success today and in the future. Okay? So that's the BCG matrix for you. That's the BCG matrix for you. Here's an example of how it is done by students. I've taken some screenshots here. So you can show it like this. And then you have what we call the GE matrix. You have the GE matrix. So the GE matrix is a 9-cell model, right? It is also a portfolio analysis tool. But unlike the BCG matrix, the GE matrix looks at the market attractiveness, high, medium, low, market attractiveness, high, medium, low, and the strength of each product or SBU, high, medium, or low. So again, if you take the Unilever portfolio, here you look at this larger circle represents the size of the market. So example, this might be the toothpaste market, and this is the Signals market share. Toothpaste market, the pie chart represents the brand or the SBU or the product's market share. So this can be the tea market or the tea leaves market. This can be Lipton's market share. This can be the washing powder market. This can be a Rin market share. So like that, all 80 brands, you plot it like this. Based on the SBU strength, long-term attractiveness, size of market, share within that. So the GE matrix can show many things than the BCG matrix. Now, in some cases, students use both GE matrix as well as the BCG matrix. They're both portfolio analysis tools. But the BCG is more used in portfolio analysis, but the GE matrix can also be used in addition to your portfolio. It can be used to analyze country markets like this, right? So sometimes the case study talks a lot about different country markets that you operate in. So it will tell you the different growth markets, emerging markets. So you can prioritize those growth markets, high growth, medium growth, low growth, where to withdraw, where to harvest, where to divest. So in most assignments, you'll see we use GE to analyze the country markets in international marketing and the BCG matrix to analyze the portfolio. I hope it is clear. I hope it is clear, right? So here are some other examples or screenshots of students, right? And then I want to look at stakeholder analysis. Please type if you have any questions. Any questions, you can type. Any questions? Yeah. Could you give a brand that was at star stage and came to cash cow? See, how it works is, now you need to look at the data. So most Unilever brands, like even Signal, would have been a cash cow, or would have been a star. And today it might be a cash cow, but we don't know because we don't have the data. That's why the BCG matrix, Gayatri, is data driven. It's data driven. So now if we look at the data, then we can interpret it. Otherwise, it's very difficult for me to say because it's to do with moving from high market growth to low market growth. So if you look at maybe a brand like even Pureit, the water brand, maybe it was when it was introduced, maybe 10, 12 years ago, it would have been a star. And after some point, the market slows down, then it ends up being a cash cow. And from there, if you start losing market share, it will go into a dog or a question mark. So it will keep going down. But you need to, this is data driven. Okay, so you need to understand the data to interpret it. Chatura is asking, did you mean high market share company for share value high companies? No. This is not share price. That's a separate thing. Market share. Market share is your, if you look at, you can calculate market share based on value of sales, quantity of sales. So example, Elephant House might say, my market share is 25% because I sell, right, 2.5 million bottles a year out of a 10 million bottle market where Coke, Fanta, all the other guys are there. Chatur, I hope it's clear. So you can have either quantity market share or value market share in billions. Okay, Chatura? Right. So let's now look at stakeholder analysis. So guys, there are three types of stakeholders, right? Three types of stakeholders. Who is a stakeholder? Very simply put, a stakeholder is a person or a group that can influence the organization and its activities, or be influenced by the organization and its activities. I'll repeat that. A stakeholder can be an individual or group who can influence the organization's activities or be influenced by the organization's activities. That is a stakeholder. Now, stakeholders, there are three types of stakeholders: internal stakeholders, connected stakeholders, and external stakeholders. Now, I will draw a little bit of diagram here for you to understand this further. Okay, let me draw a diagram so that you can understand this further. So you have maybe you can draw this as well. Stakeholders. You have three types of stakeholders. You have internal stakeholders, inside the organization, connected stakeholders who are connected with the organization, and there are external stakeholders outside the organization. Three types of stakeholders. So your internal stakeholders are your staff, the management, unions are all stakeholder groups within the organization. Your staff, management, unions are all internal stakeholder groups. Then you have connected stakeholders. Stakeholders who are outside the boundary of the organization. They are not internal, they are connected. So they interact with the organization, customers, suppliers, distributors, connected stakeholders. And then you have external stakeholders. Stakeholders who are outside the boundary of the organization, such as the government, pressure groups, the government, pressure groups, the media, the public are external stakeholder groups. External stakeholder groups. Okay, I hope this is clear. So you have internal stakeholders, connected stakeholders, and external stakeholders. Right? So you can, I hope you took this down. I hope you took it down. And then we look at another theory. What are the stakeholder expectations? What are the stakeholder expectations? So stakeholders will have different expectations. Employees require job security, compensation, and job satisfaction. Suppliers will want payments. Customers will want value. Shareholders will want dividends. Government will want you to pay taxes. So different stakeholders will have different interests in the business. We call this stakeholder expectation analysis. So when you read the case study and do the stakeholder analysis, you need to understand each stakeholder's expectations. And then you have what we call the Mandela matrix. Now, what is the Mandela matrix? The Mandela matrix is also called the power and interest matrix. The power and interest matrix. Now, some stakeholders have high power or low power. Some stakeholders have a high level of interest or low level of interest in the business. Right? Now, when you're drawing a stakeholder map, it looks something like this, where you put your stakeholders and you plot them based on high power and high interest. So you can see these guys here are key players. These guys here are key players. Why? They have a high degree of power and a high degree of interest. These guys are key players. You need to manage them and have key account managers. You need to have relationship managers. You need to invest resources. These guys you manage with minimal effort because their level of interest and their level of power is low and low. And then you have high and low power and interest. Keep them happy, keep them satisfied. And then you have low and high, keep them informed. But these key players, you need to manage very, very carefully. I hope it is clear. I hope it is clear. Right? So the power and interest matrix is a key theory for you to prioritize key stakeholders, where you prioritize the key stakeholders. Right? But the stakeholder expectation analysis is where you understand each stakeholder's expectations. And then the map we did is to identify who are the internal, connected, and external stakeholders. Now, when you look at the case study, it will look something like this. This is the stakeholder analysis done for global marketing decisions case study. So can you see this is students' work? I put screenshots here, students' work. Stakeholder expectation analysis, power and interest Mandela matrix, You can use a table like this. And this is all students' A grade work. All right. Okay, so that's it for this week. I want you this week to look at and add a few tools. I want you to undertake a stakeholder analysis for Levi's for homework. Stakeholder analysis for Levi's homework. So you can do a Mandelo matrix and you can do a expectation analysis. You can benchmark all the world prize winning answers I've sent you. I also want you to do a BCG matrix. It's not data driven, but you can plot. There are some sub brands that are mentioned in the case study. And then for the country markets that are mentioned, I want you to do a GE matrix. That's it. That's for homework this week. Then I'm going to upload another video for you to watch this week on Saturday, which is on core competencies and competitive advantage. I want you to watch it. It's a 2-hour video. I'm going to upload that on Saturday. If you have not watched the video on market segmentation, please watch it. Please watch it. All right. So thank you very much. I'll see you next week. Good night. Please make sure you do your homework. You have 7 days. You have 7 days. Janudi, sorry, you should not add students to another WhatsApp group. Okay. Sorry, you can't do that. Okay. It's not allowed by CIM. So please don't do that. All right. Any other questions? Any other questions? Anything else to clarify? Okay. Thank you very much, guys. Good night. I'll see you next week. Good night. Good night. Good night.